That was Andy Verity, our economic correspondent there. Now, it's been 2 years since a massive explosion in Beirut killed more than 200 people. An investigation into the blast was paused in December after political pressure, and the UN is now being asked to intervene. As our correspondent Corinne Torbe explains, it leaves the city in limbo and victims still searching for answers.
Class of 2022.
Graduation marks the start of a new journey for these students. But one seat is empty. This gown was supposed to be worn by Ilyas Al-Khouri. He was killed in the Beirut port explosion. He was at home. His classmates remember him as a great friend and an aspiring rapper.
In our case, it's not only the feeling of grief that kills you from the inside. There is another feeling of injustice that shatters you in every way. This injustice, it's because of the way our beloved ones were killed. There was no war, and it wasn't a terrorist attack.
It's been 2 years since a warehouse filled with ammonium nitrate exploded at the port of Beirut. The blast swept across the city, killing over 200 and injuring thousands. It devastated entire neighborhoods and displaced tens of thousands. Friends and family of the victims have hung pictures of their loved ones near the port area.
These pictures stand as a testimony to the scale of the disaster, but they are also a reminder that for the families of the victims, there can only be solace when justice is served.
2 years on, the investigation into the blast has completely stalled. Activists and relatives of the victims say the endless maneuvering is drowning out the chance for justice.
We've seen all the strategies and all the tools that the political forces have used in order to stop accountability in the blast investigation, but also in other crimes. We've seen the same strategies being used. What we have today is a society that is more aware of that impunity regime, that is more aware also of the need to break with this regime.
Meanwhile, shockwaves from the blast are still being felt. These wheat silos at the port are slowly crumbling. Some of the wheat inside couldn't be emptied after the explosion. It has fermented and has been igniting under the soaring sun. 2 years on, they cannot fully stand, nor have they fallen. They linger, as if awaiting closure.
Well, Corinne joins us now live from Beirut. And Corinne, I can see some people gathered there behind you. But before we go to that, I'm just getting some reports here that at least 2 more silos in Beirut's port collapsed today. That's according to Reuters and the witnesses they've spoken to. What more do you know about that?
Well, we understand that 3 more silos have fallen just minutes ago. As I said in the report, these silos that withstood the explosion were for the last 2 years completely cracked. There have been lots of fires erupting in it recently because of the fermented grain in it and the heat, the summer heat. Now we were expecting more to fall, but just minutes ago and just 1 hour before marking the exact 2 years anniversary of the Beirut blast explosion, they fell behind me. There was a huge, a lot of dust that was dispersed in the air. This is why it is recommended that we all keep our masks on, and more is expected to fall because of the cracked structure. But I want to say that this happening at this exact moment is something with a lot of symbolism for lots of people. As you were saying, there are a lot of people who are gathering behind me. There have been 3 marches around Beirut. All of them are converging at this point to mark the 2nd anniversary. And then this happened, the silos collapsed. So this has added a lot of emotional luggage to something that is already extremely heavy for many to bear, not only emotionally because of what happened to their loved one or to themselves, but also because 2 years on, there is no justice in this case. The investigation is stalled, and there is one call today. We want an end to impunity. We want justice. We want to know what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, and Corinne, as you say, this is still happening before people's eyes. More than 200 people died in that incident. 300,000 people have been left homeless. There has been no compensation for the families, no justice. And as you say, things stalled because the politicians don't want to be investigated.
Absolutely, that's what the relatives of the victims say. They say that there is obstruction of justice, that this is some sort of, an unwillingness from the political or from parts of the political system and political elite not to say what happened, not to allow truth about what happened. And this is what makes today a very difficult day for a lot of people here. The grief is very fresh. The grief hasn't been, people haven't been able to find closure just because there has been no justice. And as I said, it's not only the verdict that is not at the moment clear yet. There are basic questions about what happened that are still without answer.
Corinne, thank you so much for your reporting there from Beirut.